Thank you everyone for joining. Essentially, with the AI game dev community, Tintash, and we're a game development studio that's been around since 2008, and I've worked with a lot of companies out there. But this is about the AI game development community. And the goal here is to bring together game industry thought leaders to explore how AI is transforming game dev workflows in production, in art, design, engineering, and others. And the focus is to share what works, what doesn't work, because everything's going to be evolving really fast over the coming months, and help one another advance one another's efforts. So let's kick this off. I'm going to ask Usman Javed, our games director at Tintash, to introduce our first speaker. And so, Usman, over to you.
Thank you, Manan, and I hope I'm audible. So we have Matthew Wylds with us. Matthew has over 20 years of experience building casual mobile games and leading world-class teams. He has held several key roles at many prestigious gaming companies, including EA Mobile, Digital Chocolate, Jam City, where he particularly grew to VP and Studio GM position. Now he is running his own studio, and as co-founder and CEO of Team Tiger Games, Matthew is focused on crafting fun and player-first experiences and exploring and leading his team on how AI can improve their game development pipeline. So the topic of today's first lightning talk basically our first lightning talk is AI as your first hires and how AI empowers game studios before they scale up their teams. And in this talk, we learn from Matthew how AI empowers game studios to fill creative and development gaps before they decide to scale up their team. With that, I'll just pass it over to you, Matthew, and I'll just hit mute.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the great introduction. I do have a few slides I would like to walk through, so let me see if I can get that going. All right. So again, thanks for having me. I did kind of tweak the topic slightly to kind of fit with the theme of what Team Tiger is doing right now. So I do apologize for throwing some curveballs at everybody. But this talk is going to be called AI as you hire. So I'll kind of get that through here. I wanted to throw out a few disclaimers. I'm personally not an AI expert, but I am a game developer who is very curious about new technologies. Secondly, kind of like with the introduction, with Team Tiger, we're on like a new phase of our journey where we're starting over again, rethinking about how we can build games and our approach to development. So a lot of my sharings today will be like work in progress and more of what we've learned at this point of our journey. But I'm also very curious to hear from people here what they've learned so far because I'm also learning. So let's go from there. Um, I was kind of already given this lovely introduction and you hit all my points already. So I don't really feel like I need to go through this, but I have worked on a lot of really cool games over the years. I did get to touch a bunch of IPs and make some innovations in the casual space. Did a lot of great things at Jam City and had the opportunity to start my own studio in 2022. So that is Team Tiger. We released our first game last year in 2024. That's Secret Puzzle Society. It's a really cool game with a 3D meta layer where you're exploring an escape room, trying to figure out who's setting these traps, solving puzzles. Just really cool, really engaging. It was very beautiful. We learned a ton about this game. The only problem with it was very expensive to develop. It took almost 2 years. At one point, our team was about 40 people, so it was kind of a bear. We thought from all the learnings from this game, there's probably better ways to do things. So like, let's try to figure out what is going on here as we start up a new project in 2025. But then kind of looking back at 2022, this is where we started with our AI journey. It was mostly just silly. So working with Dolly back in 2022, these were kind of the things that we were playing with it, where we're like, what could be Team Tiger's first hit mobile game? We plugged in match three as a term and it gave us some matches. We plugged in just what our first mobile game could look like, and you could kind of see like this is just what generative AI looked like in 2022. It was very, very crude, very primitive. It was mo mostly just funny. So we were thinking, as we started this year, what could we do next? What could we do similar to Secret Puzzle Society, but find ways to do it cheaper and faster? How far could we go with a really streamlined team? So that brings us to Project M. So we started this in February of this year. This was a demo trying to show off of all the things that we learned from Secret Puzzle Society, but doing it with this streamlined version of the team. So our goal was, let's get a demo ready by GDC. We took a bunch of meetings during GDC. We're able to show off the demo, opened up a lot of cool doors and opportunities for us. And just to be like, hey, we started this in February, and by end of March, here's where we're at. You can see here kind of what we did with Secret Puzzle Society was we did the 3D environments. There were a linear progression of like one room after another. We figured we could probably do this a little bit smarter if we did kind of a different meta twist that was like a mansion versus linear rooms. So that's what you can see in Project M. So this is kind of like a Hogwarts style area that evolves as you progress. We figured with AI we could do some really interesting things there, be more cost efficient, build things a little bit faster. And the bottom right, you can see it goes into the core gameplay. So one of the core gameplays we did here, this was all AI generated art. It's a hidden object game. So we're able to make these hidden object boards pretty much purely through AI. And this is something like one developer could do and much faster than we could do with the Match 3. So that was a really cool experiment for us. We learned from there, we kind of wanted to try something else with a small team. So we were like, what can we do that's a bit more core gameplay oriented? We thought the hidden object stuff in Project M was fun, but we felt like we could do something even more fun. So kind of taking nods at like what's going on there with the hybrid casual market, some of the big games doing a lot of scale and downloads. We were like, what can we do that's more of like a tactile 3D kind of casual puzzle experience? So that's Color Quest. So Color Quest we started in April, and we're actually slated to release this month. So from the time we've started this new journey with Team Tiger starting in February to now, we've done almost 2 games and we're ready to do like our first big release as an independent studio this month. So I think mostly this is like a testament of what you can do with some of the new tools and a small team who's like very motivated to make things happen. So if you're kind of curious how we use it now, there's nothing here that's revolutionary. You guys probably even know more ways to use AI than I do, but we are really focused on like making a product that we are proud of. One of our goals is people shouldn't really know that we're using AI. We're just using it to make things faster and make things cheaper. So concept art, design mockups, game art, those are things that AI has been really helpful for us. Coding, kind of improving our code, iterating, copywriting, taking copy, doing iterations, brainstorming. So this even works from like a corporate standpoint, like business strategy, like feeding our presentations into Gemini and having it spit out summaries of everything. That's been very helpful. And then also part of the reason why we're trying to go fast is to find more ways to use AI in live ops and just post-launch development. Like very curious to see what we can do there. So part of what's important for us to continue to learn is if we don't continue to learn, they will replace me with an AI. So I just kind of wanted to talk about like our takeaways so far. Like this is just a few of the things that I've learned is just stay curious, don't settle for things how they've always worked. I think Secret Puzzle Society, we tried to be very accurate with things, and that made us do things the way that we've always done it in the past. Now we're kind of being like, maybe we should throw some of that away and just try to be scrappy again. Bigger companies really want to stick with the status quo. So I think that gives us smaller teams like some advantage here. We're really willing to try almost anything different as long as it provides results. Something that we're thinking a lot lately is instead of thinking about hires, think about what we can do with AI. So it's like all of us now can do a lot more things than we could do in the past just because of these tools. Like us non-coders can do more coding, can make prototypes, could do cooler things faster. I think the benefit of all of this is smaller teams make faster decisions. So it's just like keeping the decision-making loop really small. So it's like in addition to giving us all new skill sets, it's like with a team of 4, we can do a lot and we can move quick because we don't have to bring like a team of 20 into the loop or bring a team of 10. It's just we're able to move really, really fast that way. And then lastly, it's like AI is cool, but you still have to be creative to use it. Like it's only as good as the prompts that you put in or the ideas that you have and how you're going to leverage the output. So for me, it's like, yeah, it's not like a panacea fix all for everything. You still got to be a creative. Games are still like a fun, creative industry and requires you to be a fun, creative person to make those cool things. So that was kind of like my just wanted to walk everyone through where we are and maybe open it up for discussion now.
John, you want to go first, and then
Yeah.
Olga?
What was the best tool that you used and what did you do with it?
The thing that shocked me the most was Photoshop AI.
Hmm.
So it's something that we're all familiar with. We've been using Photoshop for like as long as we've been in the industry.
Mhm.
But the generative AI in there is very respectful of the context that you give around it. So if you're creating like a scene for like a hidden object game and you have like a lighting in there that you really like, it will respect that. So you can kind of build images around images and it will like maintain continuity as you go. So that was something that I was very surprised about.
John,
Well,
we come back to that. Sorry, Swan, you go ahead. You have a question?
no, so I was just gonna pass the mic to Olga, since she was raising her hand as well.
Yes, thanks, Usman. First of all, thanks, Matthew, for the presentation. I mean, you're the first. It's a tough challenge. Yeah, and I'm a head of art in Zeptolab, and I have an art-related question. So, as far as I understood, you use AI-generated assets in the game, right? Correct?
Mhm.
So, the question is, do you change them? Do you modify them? And how much? I mean, what's the measure of a modification? Just not to be uh, guilty because of plagiat or things, etc. How you measure this? Yeah, I mean, it's an important question actually.
Yeah, no, it is very important, and it's we do modify things quite a bit. So it's like one of the things is like just getting a raw image out and then going in and using like traditional skills of kind of painting over or like just modifying through Photoshop. So it's like part of this goes back to the last line. It's like only as creative as like you are. So it's like one, prompting it to get an image that's close, and then second, having that like skill set to get it to the finish line. Like ultimately, it's got to fit within the context of the project. So if you could see like what we did in Color Quest, we do have like a style guide already that kind of is like, this is how things need to fit. And it's like AI is good for somewhat of, it's really good for generating ideas that are raw and then getting it to the team who has some experience as developers to get it to the finish line. So yeah, pretty much everything is modified.
Understood. Thank you.
Great. Brooke?
Hey Matt, how many tools have you guys evaluated and what's the graveyard look like? Anything you've learned about trying and throwing things away?
You know, the graveyard actually isn't that big. I think for us, it's kind of like tools are a by need basis. So we're like, we'll look for something, we'll try it, or someone will recommend something. So I think like that's like one of the coolest things about the time that we're in now. It's just like such rapid learning. I'm like, look back at the image from 2022 and like look at what you see now on like your LinkedIn feed. So basically, I look at LinkedIn every day and I like find something. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it's mostly like I just not enough time in the day to like try everything that we find. So it's like, yeah, we try a lot of things. There's just kind of like the tried and true things, like the Photoshop, Chat GPT, Gemini, Cursor. It's like we can get really far with all that. So it's like there's just too much shit out there.
Cool.
Mark?
Yeah, so I think we've seen a lot of the work across content generation, but actually the growth in AI tooling we've seen is actually in customization and analysis. Because one thing AI is great at is analyzing large data sets from your users and modifying game or suggesting updates to the game based on those data sets. So have you looked at tools in that space outside of content creation?
Yeah, very little. And actually, that's a big part of why we're trying to get a product to market like ASAP, is we feel like the next round of learning for us is really that like post-launch, how to read the data and action from it. We have some potential studio partners that we used to work with down in Buenos Aires who are focused more right now on AI QA and AI as a PM. And basically, the moment that we get live, we're going to be kind of putting our heads together, see maybe what we could learn from them, or maybe what we could learn from, people on this call or anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because that is that one area where it's like we have, I wouldn't say a long time now, but basically since February, we have been in kind of like the production process with AI, and next it's like get it out in the market and see what we can learn in terms of data collection and actioning off of it using AI.
Yeah, the other area we've talked about is AI and live ops. So you're making sure your server structures are up, your return from your user data is correct for regions. So again, that traditional thing where I've just got dashboards everywhere and trying to manage them. AI is great at doing that data. So how can I spin up more servers in this region at this time to manage peak at certain times there. So that type of data, live ops data analysis outside of player engagement is also a great area we're seeing AI tooling in.
Yeah, it makes complete sense to me. I'm like, it just seems like a logical use case there. It's just like, I really want to see it in action.
And actually, ironically, more of a logical use case for what it's good at than content generation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm like, there's been so many times of like pulling data, putting it in one format, transforming it to another format, visualizing it, thinking about it. I'm like, this seems like what AI should be used for primarily.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So if there are any more questions, please by all means go for it.
Can I ask, have you had any experience with MCP model context protocol? Are you doing any care gen? No.
You could explain more, maybe. Sounds interesting.
Just sort of an agent process to link the development of character generation together without human intervention. It's essentially gapping things where we'd have to log out, log in, log out, log in to connect different types of applications that we're using. And it's worked pretty remarkably for us. We've managed to go, we're developing from 2D characters to rig characters. We're doing it in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Wow, that's incredible.
We're taking, what I would have seen in the past, probably 4 to 6 artists out of the equation.
Can
That's
we get
crazy.
you to give a lightning talk on that?
Yeah, we found the next one.
Yeah, it's called Model Context
Well,
Protocol if y'all want to look at it. It's made some jaws drop inside of our shop.
Cool. Usman, is it Jan? How do you pronounce your name?
Yeah, Jan. We're
Jan.
Spark Games with a Q.
Got it. Usman, you want to add him to the list and perhaps
Cool.
ping him later?
Yeah, of course. I'll definitely get in touch with you, Jan.
Yeah, good to see you, Usman. Thank you.
Likewise. Ian, you have a question?
Yeah, I do actually for Matt. One way that we've our general experience with AI, I think, kind of falls very similar to yours, which is that you can use it as an accelerator, but you need a human being to get it across the finish line. And in the creative space, I think that pipeline's been really well understood. But from my standpoint, like I think one of the things we struggle the most with is with respect to coding and engineering, because of the inherent specificity of the result. Like, yes, you can do a really quick prototype, but then you could spend, the next 3 months refactoring it to actually something usable and maintainable. And so I'm just kind of curious, like what your experience is like. So we've seen like, well, AI coding agents are good as sort of like basically a auto suggestions on steroids, and maybe filling in little gaps here and there. I'm just kind of curious whether you've had a different experience with that.
No, I actually feel like you're pretty spot on with how we're using it. I don't want to speak to my CTO. He's more of like the coding magician in the company. But I feel like what I hear from him is it's mostly good at like soundboarding or like solving issues that are already there. A lot of like what we're doing and kind of the architecture that we started is built off of our learnings from all the previous projects. So it's like we're starting over based on everything we've learned before.
Right.
And
You're not coming to it and saying like, hey, go make me this hidden object game, and now I'm going to go start. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that's hard for a lot of companies is that who aren't necessarily you're trying to pierce the hype, right? It's one of the challenges around it, especially like the this whole concept of the 10x developer and all this other stuff. It's like, well, it's easy to run fast in an open field, but when you actually have a product that you're maintaining, this is where a lot of these things start to fall, the wheels start to come off.
totally. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's like you can't discount experience and being battle tested. But I think the other side of it is like there are little things, and like others have pointed out in this call, there's like big things that are happening all the time. And it's like if we don't pay attention, like we're gonna get left behind.
Yeah, it's really not a question about luck, but I'm just kind of curious what your experience has been around it, because again, it's trying to understand like where the hype is,
Yeah.
how you can like what the reasonable expectation is. I think from a manager standpoint, if you're looking at your developers like, why aren't you using more AI? Right? You're like, well, what do you want me to do? Right? And I think trying to it's a better expectation around expectation setting.
Totally.
Really just also understanding like where how others like yourself are actually using these tools.
You
Yeah,
know,
no.
Ian, part of it's also just sorting out how much AI development is coming at us so quickly. And like we actually have product management in place just to track the amount of AI and sorting through it every week, believe it or not. And
Yeah.
at the end of the week, we have our stand up, and it's like, hey, in publishing, you guys could use this. In acquisition, you guys could use this. And it's coming so fast that it's almost worth a body using a lot of AI to keep track of the AI.
Yeah, right. It's like, tell me what was released in the last week.
Yeah, these primitives are super applications and they'll go right by you. You won't even know they're out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe that's kind of
yeah. Sorry.
the value of these conversations is like just learning from the hive mind of what's going on. I'm like, honestly, just keeping it up is a full-time job.
Yeah, I agree.
So I came across something a couple of weeks ago. Like we all used to sort of, there was a narrative that AI is going to take your job, AI is going to replace you. But now the narrative is slowly forming, like transitioning towards it's a very powerful assistant that needs to be severely micromanaged. So I think if that bit, if we sort of understand, then sort of discover, like whole sort of possibilities of where you can keep using it to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of just going through this deck for this call. It was like AI to me now is like a mindset. It's just like thinking about how we can do everything we've been doing over our career just a little bit better, a little bit faster. And I'm like, I'm just surprised already what's there. And I'm like excited to see like over the next, 2 months, 3 months, what happens next.
God knows the games industry didn't need to move any faster, but
Yeah, they're like, hyper casual, we have super hyper casual.
Yeah. Juan, I had one question.
John, you have a question, I guess.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I'm just curious, in your the example you gave about the 40-person sort of team behind one of your games, and then the fact that now you could do something similar with 4. I'm just curious, one choice would be to make 10 games, right, with like 40 people still, and do like a lot more. The other could be to sort of, do like a single. And so I'm curious about, your take on that, because you could have a portfolio strategy, right? It's such a high risk business. So do you think that AI would enable just taking more risk Or is it the opposite, because now you have a smaller team, so you're actually taking much less risk and you're just optimizing on cost. So I'm just curious about your take on that.
Yeah, I think we're kind of starting over now with a strategy that's like more shots on goal. We don't really know necessarily which one of these is going to hit, but every time we make one now with our new framework, we can move a little bit faster. So the goal is find one, release our games pretty bare bones. Like part of what we learned in the past was like these are the features and the live ops tricks that we know will scale the game in terms of money once we have a hit. But like we're just trying to find something that's got like good early engagement and retention. Once we see that, we'll start to double down on it. But from then it's just like let's scattershot a bunch of ideas.
So the product market fit is just as hard as it was before.
Oh yeah, I think if anything, it might be harder. John's got his hands raised.
Yeah. Hey there, me again.
Mhm.
So the big thing that I think about here, and that I've spent a little bit of time talking with people on LinkedIn and in a few places as well, is what does this mean for talent, right? I think we're all going to have a big problem in 2030 to 2035. And if you take a look at what people are doing now, everyone's saying instead of let's hire a team of junior engineers, fuck it, let's spend 20 bucks on open AI and we're just going to prompt our way into our prototype, right? Like where does the next generation of craftspeople come from? This is the thing that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I
I'm in the
definitely
middle
feel
of
that.
doing an experiment right now with a subset of my team that has to learn a new language, and they're very seasoned engineers, and the joke that I make is when you're learning a new language, you're going to spend 6 weeks writing code that you will regret 6 months later. Is that number going to be 6 weeks, or is it going to be 3 weeks or 9 weeks? And instead of 9 months, is it going to be, or 6 months, is it going to be 3 months or 9 months? We don't know what that looks like yet, but we are going to have a couple of people whose only introductory experience to new programming language is through using Cursor to build their first projects. You could get very far and do a lot of crazy stuff with the tools of today, but how much of it is going to shape your ability to function and to scale your talent within that language versus just saying no, do it over, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
the
would
thing that
say
I'm watching for.
you bring up an interesting philosophical question, and I think this kind of scares me on like a different level where it's like I look at the internet and I'm like the dead internet theory is coming to life in front of our eyes.
Hmm.
But I also think kind of to Ian's point, we're living in 2025 and you need like good coders to like get things done still. And like this
Mhm.
is just like a force multiplier. And also it's like we're living in 2025. I can't tell you what's going to happen in 2 weeks, let alone 2 years. So it's like we kind of just have to build off of what we know. And I think all of us can get a little bit better through these tools. Where it's going to go, I don't know, but I'm just going to try to embrace the newness now.
Um, um, I do have a bunch of questions from like listed down from that I want to ask as well. But if there's anyone else who would like to sort of go first, by all means, yeah.
If I might.
Go.
So one of the so one of the things that's really been kind of chewing at the back of my mind around all of this wonderful accelerating capability of these tools um, is ultimately like how do you build how do you differentiate in the market and how do you build a moat? Because like once you start saying, hey, I can build a game with 4 people instead of 40, well, so can your competitors. So now you have the ability to fast follow. And then the question is like, how do you truly differentiate in the era of AI and build things that are unique and differentiatable and not necessarily so easily replicated?
Yeah, no, I think that that's a fair concern. I do think I kind of ended my slides with I do think creativity is still really important. And I think the exciting thing for me is like we just have the opportunity to try things maybe we wouldn't have taken a shot at before. So it's like before, I mean, the name of the game is risk management. I'm in like mobile puzzle casual. So it's like we've been very cautious about the things that we were doing because we just wanted to make sure we could compete. And now it's like I feel like we could try a little bit different things. I'm like, maybe the market becomes more niche. There's more different, maybe the games aren't necessarily as big, but there's more like mid-sized ones. So for me, it's another one of those ones that's like it's tough to answer the question, but the exciting thing for me, it's like we're gonna try things we weren't gonna try before.
I think that's a really I'm with Wildcard Games, or CEO of Wildcard Games, and we're also in the mobile, casual space, and can recognize the general challenge of product market fit, time to market, time to even data, right, and valuation of like, does this thing work, right? And so I think the idea of more shots on goal is really appealing, and I think maybe that's one of the ways to look at it is like, hey, like if you can accelerate your time to market and you can accelerate your time to evaluate the core concept, that gives you plenty. Now you can go, build that thing and then differentiate. So again, it's like it's an accelerator, but it's not the full story, right?
Yeah, I think I could kind of like talk a little bit about our business strategy, but it's like we've seen over the last few years, like the casual market from a monetization standpoint really grow. But kind of maybe like the top players are really just owning the market. But you're starting to see like this uptick in games that are like using a lot of the popular mechanics from like Royal Match, but like the core gameplays are starting to switch a little bit. So people are trying different core mechanics. So for us, we're like, okay, we have this like library of features and tactics we know that can help grow a game, can help monetize users. But from like a core gameplay mechanic standpoint, like we are seeing new things happening. So it's like that's the shot on goal that we're really interested in is like, what can we do that's like easily digestible, bite-sized gameplay that's like slightly fresh?
No, I like that idea a lot. I mean, really, if you're saying that if you can reduce the cost of experimentation and potentially reduce your time to market, suddenly you're less risk adverse to new ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it really time to market though? So what I hear from you is that being able to be creative and come up with new ideas is sort of like the go-to-market strategy, whereas the barrier, as I understand it, was that the top players had the audience and the network. That the audience was the moat. The publishers had them for whatever cost per install they had. Was that really the barrier? And what changes, like, so you can come up with new concepts or new mechanics, etc. But how do you beat the cost of install to sort of test the game with say 1,000
Yeah,
players?
so I think like there's clear trends in like the mobile marketing field where we're seeing like I'll give you one for example. It's like 3D tactile kind of like things that just feel like you could touch it, like seem to be installing really well. Like block puzzle games are like blowing up the charts right now. So it's like just it's kind of like revealing some secrets from what we showed. But like the match 2 3D object thing, we're like very inspired by a lot of other games out there like Screwdom and a couple other ones where we're like, it seems people really like this kind of what you see is what you get. Like I just want to touch it. Those seem to be driving a lot of downloads. Will it drive a lot of downloads for us? That's a key question that we're trying to answer.
Yeah, I was like very curious about Ian, and perhaps you know so Fortune 500 companies are on average around for 15 years now, and games industry is notorious, right? So games, perhaps the time a game is popular, or as you said, Matthew, how big a game can get, perhaps that gets limited. But if you guys feel differently, like if you feel AI can actually help new developers or players get that advantage towards getting that audience, I'd love to learn more about that. Sorry, I'm just
Man, and one thing you can do is depends on your budget. Scale does matter a little bit, but think of a company like Sensor Tower, right? Which was Data AI, which was App Annie, which has been around forever. You've got 42,000 mobile games in there. You got over 70 mechanics per game. You got all the game economies. You've got all the information on the Apple and Google store, and you got all the information on demographics. So typically that's been a dashboard, and you've had a bunch of analysts playing around with it to figure out genre, subgenre. Now we're using an API to actually pipe all that data in, and we're doing supervised machine learning on it so that we figure out that now we have the NCAA sports trademark, so we're a little different.
Wow.
But we can go into any sport. We can do anything inside of that venue. And so deciding what we want to do next, you can completely de-risk the front end. Now that's about an $80,000 a year chunk, right?
Yeah.
And so it's an expensive piece of research, but you know, and then we're
And you're giving
spending as
that to
much this-
AI?
we'll spend as much this year on AI as we will on publishing and acquisition. And the only thing I'll add is, you know, what's the biggest mistake we all make? We don't think about acquisition. We say we're gonna build it and they'll come. There's so many games out there now. You got to think about the acquisition side. You got to think about the stores. You got to think about that side. And AI can also just kill it for you there on the acquisition side because it can help you with ad optimization. It
Oh,
can help,
yeah.
you know, it can sort through all the A/B split testing your competitors have already done. So I would really open your minds up to the front end and the back end. I know this is more of a dev meeting, but on the publishing and acquisition side, there's
Yeah,
so
no,
much
I totally agree with you.
it can
Actually, that's
de-risk
like
you so much that
the concepts that we're coming up with. It's like we're starting with like, how is this going to market? And actually, it was kind of Secret Puzzle Society, even going back to that, we were like escape rooms and like that type of thing of it's like there's intense like danger, there's like people in trouble, there's like stakes like just in the image that you can see. Like that's the reason why we went with that concept. So for us, I mean, living in this world, it's like marketing has been so before I left Jam City in like 2020, 2021, I spun up a marketing team because I was like, my studio is going to fail without like having a marketing team that we can control ourselves. So for me, like that's been like a big focus for us for a long time. And what you're saying, I'm like, I would love to hear more maybe of what you're doing. But yeah, I know that data sounds like it would be super helpful.
Yeah, AI or with that sort of data, App Annie, Sensor Tower, coupled with what's trending on YouTube, and a quick go-to-market test. That sounds like the moat that Ian you were looking for. At least a big win, and then capture that audience and keep it with you so that it's easier to get the next install. This is really fun. We could go on, but I also know that it's good to wrap these up in time and keep up the excitement for the next time. So yeah, should we wrap this up? And we're looking forward to other volunteers sort of making a roadmap for talks. So Jan, we're already going to be pinging you, but
On
and
that, just want sorry to interrupt you. Just on that note, we have our next lightning talk already lined up, and it's a very exciting one as well. Zero Labs will be talking about how they transformed their art production pipeline using AI.
wow,
Just a teaser for that right now, and I'll be sure to reach out to all of you again and send you an invite.
Awesome.
very
Thank you
cool.
guys so much for the platform.
Thank
This
you
was
so much
fun.
again, Matthew. This was so amazing. Thanks for
Thank you.
taking this up.
Thank you.
And thanks, everyone.
And everyone else and all the questions.